ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Grace. I'll be your moderator for this session brought to you by Atara Solutions. Tonight, we are discussing family-owned businesses. Family, not familiarity. For the first-timers, let me give you a quick background. I am a lead consultant for Atara Solutions, which is an HR strategy and capacity building firm. We help organizations manage their HR function and employees become better. For more details, you can visit our website or send an email at info@atarasolutions.co.ke. Get It Right with Atara Solutions is a platform that seeks to demystify issues around entrepreneurship and employment. We do this in partnership with Zalego Academy, a software development and capacity building firm. They actually have a November intake for those of you who would like to polish or gain any IT skills. You can visit their website or social media pages for further details. October is a special month for me and my family, and therefore we are celebrating with you, our audience. It actually happens to be my birthday month. We have partnered with different organizations to help us achieve this celebrate this great milestone. To name just but a few, we have Shishi Naturals, who produce natural oils, Serenity Studios, who do photography and videography, and they are introducing their mommy packages for expectant moms. We have Career Management Center, who will be offering interview coaching and profile upgrades for you, our audience. We have Good Fortune Greens in Nanyuki, who are green groceries, and they grow their produce organically. And this is for our special treat for our Nanyuki audience. We also have Surreal Laundry Services, a laundromat offering same-day cleaning services based in Ruaka. They will also be offering you something. So for all of you, our audience, you have even more, besides the knowledge you're gaining and the value we are adding, you actually have more reason to log in and celebrate this month. This is our 16th webinar. We started with how to register your business legally, and last week we were discussing using social media as a tool to grow sales. If you missed any of our webinars, please visit the Atara Solutions YouTube channel to catch up, and while at it, kindly subscribe and click the notification button. Next week, we shall still be dealing with family-owned businesses, and this time we shall hear from a Kenyan of Kenyan descent, because Via is also Kenyan, by the way. As always, let me remind you why Get It Right with the Atara Solutions started. Did you know that 22% of businesses fail in the first year? That is to mean that all the businesses that started on January 1st of 2020, 22% will not see the end of this year, 30% will not see the end of next year, 50% will not make it to their 5th anniversary, and 70% will have closed shop by the 10th year. And these numbers have to change. This is why we actually started this program, because we have to change this narrative. I am honored and privileged to introduce our speaker today. He is a man I have known for over 10 years. I have worked alongside him and under him. He and the entire family have taught me so much, and they probably have 70% to play of who I am today. Okay, of course, besides my mother. So it is a privilege to have him open this discussion on this particular month as we are celebrating the birthday month. Mr. Vir Panesar, he is the COO at Panesar's Kenya Limited and a director at Panesar Training Institute, a carpentry school. What most people don't know about him is that he actually played professional cricket as a young man. Okay, he's still young. Anyway, we invite you, our audience, to ask questions, and we will answer as many as possible. Via, I heard someone saying that working for a family business is the hardest thing ever. They have no structures, and one receives instructions from everywhere. Also, the Kenyans don't involve their kids or brothers and sisters in the business, and therefore, when they leave, they actually live with them. There was a study done by PwC on family-run businesses, And only 17% of local family business have a robust, formalized, and communication and a succession plan in place. So what from your experience do you think we can do to have these businesses outlive us?
Working for a family business. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Grace, for letting me be part of this discussion. Working for a family business is the same as working for any organization. Well, at least at Panesas it is. Look, in Kenya, family-owned businesses make up 40% of the market. I don't think people quite realize how big a percentage it actually plays in this country, but it plays a big role. And only 30% of these businesses make it to third generation. Here at Panesas, we're a third generation business. My grandfather started in 1948. My father is still heavily involved in the business also. I'm trying my best to make sure it continues the legacy through. And I think that's what Kenyans need to ask themselves, is whether they want to leave a legacy behind. I think that's the key question to ask yourself if you want to partake in things such as family constitutions and family values. So the first question to ask yourself is whether you want to leave a mark behind and leave a legacy behind.
So how do we do that?
There are different elements. There are different elements to a business. You have sales and marketing, hiring talent, succession planning, leadership teams, strategy. These are all different roles that any organization plays. And the same thing with a family-owned business. I think recently what the question that was asked to me by someone was, what is Panesas why? If you are running yourself, if you are running your own business, or if you are running or doing something on your or with yourself, have you ever asked a question on why you're doing it? Or do you really believe in what you do? Because as everyone says, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're never going to be good at it. And dreams are, there are dream teams, but there are no dream individuals. Everyone says, oh, you know, Manchester United, or there's different philosophies in sports about teams and teamworks, and I will keep using sports because it is part of my background. But there are dream teams, but there are no dream individuals. And it's the same that goes for a family-owned business. You need to have the right team besides you to grow. And I think that's a starting point. We made that very clear in Panesas. We are trying our best to put together a team that can now progress us for not just the next 2-3 years, but the next 10-20 years. We share the same values with the people who work with us. We share the same visions that we have for the people who work with us. And it's important if you want to continue a family-owned business to kind of get that way forward. There are a lot of different things you can put together to create or construct a family organization or a family business. You must have heard about family constitutions, family values, and these are the starting points of being able to develop a blueprint for your business. A set of family values are what is most important to us. It guides us to becoming the correct organization. Yeah.
So are we likely to have like values that don't, like family values where the family has its own values and the organization its own values and they don't marry? How do we bring them together? How do we gel them?
Look, values need to be put on the table first, right? You need to, it's the same as any business. It's the same as any idea you have. Get a piece of paper, write down the values that you have as an individual, speak to the person next to you. Ask Grace, what are your values? How does your family eat at the dining table? How do you what values do you regard as high values? Is honesty something that you regard highly? Is something like privacy regarded highly? Um, for example, in Penesis, something that we do use, and not a particularly popular word, but we use the word nimble. And I think it's a very important word that we use in Penesis because we like to react quickly to situations. And there's lots of different situations that come up, and you have to be nimble about how you attack them. So write down your values, whether it be an organization or whether it be a family. They have to match. It's a family business at the end of the day. Um, I think as Kenyans in Africa generally, not just Kenya, in Africa generally, there is a belief, or not even a belief. It's reality that family-run businesses don't pass. They don't get to third generation or fourth generation. Does it have something to do with trust? Um, our leadership in African countries is questionable. You have things such as the big word is corruption, plays a big part in our culture. And unfortunately, it leads from head down. If I can give you an example, um, if you're sitting in a car and you get stopped by a traffic policeman, and he asks you, "Hey, Vir, why are you breaking these rules?" And I have my son sitting next to me, and I bribe the cop. Is my son not going to see that as something that he's allowed to do? Trust plays a big part in running a family business. You need to be transparent. It's not just with the family individuals; it's with the entire organization. You need to build trust. Trust is a big core ingredient in putting together a constitution or succession planning, which is something we will talk about later.
Okay. So how do we then, like, if you could tell us your story, how did you join the Panesa? Because I think we had how your dad started at the age of 6. So how did you become, at what point did you start going to work? And is this something that you always knew that you wanted to do?
My father comes from a family of 9 siblings. He has 4 brothers and 4 sisters. It's a big family. I am the oldest and the youngest for my mother and father. People ask me, "Oh, Vir, like as you asked me the question earlier, is it hard to be part of a family business?" You may consider it, yes, it's there, it's given to you, but it's a lot more responsibility than you actually take it to be. My mother and father put me through the best education. They then asked me the question on what do you want to become or what you want to do. They allowed me to make my own decisions. I was then allowed to live what I think was a dream. I got to play professional cricket for 6 months in Australia. I noticed straight away that I wasn't going to cut it as a professional athlete. I then came back in April 1st, 2011 is when my first official day in Penesis started. That's now 10 years, that's almost 10 years ago now. And I've been with my father for almost 10 years. It doesn't seem that long. I think one of the biggest things I have learned is to listen. I think as in my generation, and I think friends who are my age will believe and agree that we may not have listened that much in class. You want to be the cool kid in class. You don't listen to your teachers as much, or you don't listen to your parents as much. You think it's a cool idea, but when you grow up and you have people with experience around you, you learn to listen. And I think that's a value that I would like to pass on to anyone who's listening today, and anyone who wants to grow in any way, whether it be your business or whether it be an individual. Learn to listen. I think a big part of getting Panesas to where it is being able to have a chance to listen to my father. And if you want to start a family-owned business, I think the first thing you should do is, yes, as mentioned, try and figure out values, try and figure out something that relates to your core business and core elements, but find out the history of your business. Find out the history of your family that got to it where it is. Now, we were very lucky early on. I think my father gave great insight to where Panesas had come from and what it has become. And I'm very lucky to have that documented. And it reminds me every day of the struggles the family has had to go through to get to where it is. You learn from your struggles, you learn from your mistakes. And if you document that history, you start seeing a legacy coming together. And it's something, like I said, one of the first tips I would mention to people is speak to different members of the family, whether you are, whichever business it may be, learn from them, document it, put it together. You now have a document which showcases the history of how your business has developed, mistakes people have made, and what you can learn from them. Some of the oldest businesses in the world come from Japan, funnily enough. The oldest is a Japanese firm, started in 570 AD. So it's like a 40th generation business. They're a construction business as well. They build Buddhist temples. And in that top 5 list, you'll see a lot of families who hold secrets. Like, for example, some of the oldest businesses around are also from Italy. They are wineries. Some of them are from France, which are also wineries, where you're able to, over the years, plant different grapes and plant your grapefruits to actually develop even better wines and a history of those wines over the years. As I mentioned, there's only 30% of businesses that run into 3rd generation. It's being able to pass those values, pass that communication, pass that history on, to get to 500 years. Like, you can imagine a 5th generation business being 500 years old. And you need to ask yourself that question when you're at home now, and whether you want to leave a legacy behind for yourself, or whether you just want to go one day and just not be known.
And how do we deal with the emotion?
Emotions in a business are like, they have to be learned. And remember, as a business, you're not emotionally driven, right? You have to be, as a business, you're driven by objectives. You're driven by intentions and purpose and planning. Emotion is something that always happens, whether it be in a relationship, with a friend, with a wife. Emotions can run deep. You can be happy, you can be sad, but when you have to put food on the table, then it's a different thing. Yeah, like as I mentioned to you, and you know it best if anything, emotions can play a whole range of ways, but in a business, you need to keep your emotions in check. Emotions are something that it shouldn't really be mentioned when you're talking about putting together a constitution or values, or putting together an organizational plan. Emotions come with the journey, and you need to learn to kind of develop on them and live with them, unfortunately.
And then you have mentioned about a constitution. What does a family constitution have that keeps the business structured?
A family constitution is basically developed to foster harmony and cooperation within the family unit. It lays a foundation for future wealth and future assets to be defined by the family. it's an effective way of running the affairs. So, for example, whether it be the family bloodline and its descendants, on how big the family may be, distribution policies, shareholding agreements, those are all governed by a family constitution.
Yeah, and to add on to that, the different roles that the family members play.
Bang on. And I think as we move through this conversation, you need to be able to bring on professionals at different points. I think people need to understand their limitations on where they are when running an organization. For example, in Panesas, we're fantastic at making furniture. We have a great production team. We have people who have worked for us longer than I've been alive. I have a whole range of people who have been with us for over 40 years. You know, you don't even know what to tell them sometimes. When you have a guy who's been working for you longer than you've been alive, you don't know what to tell them, but you need to understand where your weaknesses are. Weaknesses may come about in things like running finances, putting together a good HR plan, marketing. You may not have all the abilities in the world, but there are people out there. There are people out there who are willing to help. There are people out there who share the same vision as you. It's a matter of going out and finding them and making them part of your belief.
So, and I think because some of these questions are coming that I think are related to what we've been talking about. But there's one question that has been, I have seen people fight over. Two things. One is point of power, like the staff receive instructions from everywhere and they don't know who to follow. And two, we have finances where families fight over money. So how do you deal with who is in charge, signatories, and we've had families that loot from their own families. So how do we address this?
You know, when we mentioned family constitution, a family constitution holds things like an agreement, for example, let's talk about a large family. All right, I'll give you an example of a large family. Large families are, if you look at, for example, the Arab countries, the UAE, or for example, they have 40 people in a family. Now, how do you manage your 10 brothers and your 10 sisters who still want the same money you earn? There's a family constitution in place for that, all right? And in that family constitution, there's a family council. That family council is made up of the family heads. Those family heads are the people who have put together the values of what this business is drived upon or valued upon, right? Someone may not necessarily need to join the primary business. They may have a different idea of what they want to do in their life, as long as it's still part of the same values. And we'll come to that eventually. So for example, there is a family council, which governs the family constitution. They play a big part of it. You'll have family board of directors that you'll state names of. These are people who will then, once you make a vote as a family member of what direction you want to take, whether you believe you have a lower salary than the other person, why you want a higher salary than the other person, these are all governed in different decisions. But as I mentioned, Grace, it's all the questions you asked are relative to organizations. Organizations ask themselves the same questions. Like if someone below you or someone above you asks the question why does this person have the power to do X? Or why does this person earn a little bit more than I do, right? People who understand your values, who understand where your business is going, will be able to answer that question on their own, right? You need to create transparency in your organization, right? Transparency in your organization comes across when you have set yourself objectives for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years, and you've discussed that with your team. Your team is a part of your growth. And when they understand that growth pattern, they'll know where they lie in everything. And unfortunately, like I said, for some strange reason, in Africa, in Kenya, we lack trust. And I think people will agree, and people will feel the same way when I use the word trust, and it comes together with leadership. You have to be able to trust the people who you work with, to be able to put together correct constitutions and correct values. And unfortunately, it only comes together when you are able to pass those values on to your children and they grow up in the right way. So it really starts from the very top.
Okay. I think we can take in a few questions because I can see it's already 8:30 and we have almost 13 questions as it is. So there's someone who had sent questions way in advance and they're asking, how can family and business be separated?
It's a very important question and it needs to be done. I know something I learned from my father very early on in life. Whenever he used to come home, he never used to discuss business. All right. So even when I joined the family business, I never used to come home and discuss business with him for whatever reason it may be. And it actually helps create like a division there. You know that when you're at work, it's work time. When you're at home, it's home time. And that's something that the Panesar family believes in. Whether it's something another family does, it's up to them. In a business, each person has its role. Grace would know this because she's been part of it. I have my KPIs. I have my responsibilities as a director, as a sales manager, whether it means debt collection or whether it means dealing with the team. Those are my responsibilities. And I know when, for example, when Grace was around, questions would be raised on your performance, on whether you were able to collect on time, or whether there are issues. And the same thing with my father. My father's put in the spot also, right? He has a role to play. And if the business is either doing well or poorly at any given moment, questions are asked, and they're asked by the organization, not by the family, by the organization, right? When it comes to family matters, in the Constitution, for example, there is a place where it states how wives or brothers or sisters are delegated a specific salary, where you put it, or a specific earnings at the end of either every month or every quarter. And that's part of your Constitution, right? It states that it could be anything, whether if your husband, for example, is in the business, a spouse needs to receive 25% of the value of the spouse's salary. You can put that and govern that in your Constitution. At least once things are in black and white, life becomes a lot easier.
Absolutely. So question 2, family members usually humiliate and intimidate employees or family-owned companies, that is non-family members. What measures can be employed to minimize such unhealthy engagement? That I could answer, but you're the guest.
Well, it's already, when that happens, it's already a toxic environment. I think not even as a family member, as a leader, if as a leader you're not doing your job to guide your team in the right direction, then you're already on the wrong track. Your family has values, your organization has values, and you need to follow those values, whether it's accountability or something in Panesar is what we have at the very start is praise. We have a value which states praise. You need to be able to praise individuals. You need to say, well done, good effort. And it's something to be governed upon within an organization and in a family.
Yeah. And then, and whoever is asking this, I have seen families firing their own family. Because at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, what are the objectives that you want to achieve? And because does it mean that you won't get there just because this person is making the environment toxic? So that then you start losing good talent because of one person. So sometimes you say this is business and it's not personal. Question number 3, Via. Family-owned businesses majorly survive on the strength of one person, and upon his or her physical absence, the business collapses. What are strategies that can be used to avoid such monopoly in management so that a clearly planned succession is achieved?
Perfect. I'm going to go through like 3 points to answer those questions for you. Something that we have put together in the family constitution and in the organization in Panesas are very clear visions, intentions, and purpose the organization intends to have in its future while doing business. That communication needs to be written down, again, in black and white. It needs to be written down and kept transparent within everyone in the organization to show how whether Vir is making his objectives and meeting his targets, or whether Grace is meeting her targets and meeting her objectives. And the same thing for any other individual. Remember, somebody might have a hidden talent. I think a lot of family-owned businesses may fail because an individual might be forced to be part of the family business.
Yes.
And people need to realize that a business constitutes a lot of different factors. Someone who has very good communication talents might not be able to plan things well, but they will remember every birthday, and that becomes a very important value when doing sales and marketing, right? While someone who's a very good planner and someone who's a very good leader might not have that soft touch of understanding human roles. And that's where different abilities of different people come into play, different family members come into play. Being a father, being a brother, being a sister, being a mother, they hold different strengths in helping the organization grow. So people need to realize what their strengths are. If you are part of a family business and you feel, hey man, this family business thing is just not what I want to do in life, then it needs to come out clear. Because if you are doing something you don't enjoy, you're never going to become good at it. And it needs to be sat down as a family and be like, hey guys, you know what? I want to be part of this family business, but I want to become a professional football coach, right? The family then needs to sit together and understand how they're going to help this family member grow. It can always be part of the family business. It's still the same revenue that's leading up into the family tree. Understanding different people's DNAs and different people's profiles help the family grow.
Yeah, sometimes in Kenya we say, unapunguza poverty in the family.
Now, and to answer your third question now, for example, in our case, where you have an individual who is very strong at what they do, in my father's case, where he has all the knowledge of carpentry, all the knowledge of furniture, but all the knowledge of business as well. He can do his own accounting and his own marketing and his own sales. And if everyone left, Panesas would still be making money if Musée Panesa was still there. And how do you protect that? You put together succession planning, right? There's a lot of, like I said, if you go on the internet, there's a lot of different ways about how to put together succession planning. And you need to reach out to professionals to help guide you in this direction. Succession planning is a key in being able to identify roles in the organization, not just at a objective level, but as I mentioned, as an individual. There's a very particular individual who can do finance, whilst there's a very particular individual who can do HR. So like I said, those roles need to be defined, those roles need to be clear. You need to put together a team that can run an organization as well as Muse does. We might not all have the ability he has, but we all have some of the ability he has, right? And together as a team, we're able to put together, or we're able to play a part that all of us can understand. It comes, it's professionalism. You have job descriptions, you have KPIs. At least that way people understand like which way they need to move and grow.
Okay. So Wilfred is asking, at what stage should members of the family be involved in the family business? There are a number of businesses in which the founders have handed it over to his sons and the business has collapsed. What has made your family business succeed?
My father, when he was online, said he started business at 6 years old. And me and my dad have been having this conversation for a long time. And I fully agree with him now, right? Look, there is a belief, but this is how we think nowadays in places, that there is, what's it called? Children Rights Act. If you're under a certain age, you can't work. Now, explain, when my mother is a teacher, she runs a special needs school called Circle Academy. And she's been running that school for almost 30 years. She's just been moved to a new premises. And she runs her business different to the way we run the furniture business, all right? But we have the same values as a family governing that thing. You need to listen to members of your business to help you grow. And without vision from each individual, there will be no growth.
Yeah. And just to mention that all your family, sorry guys, I have known this family for a very long time. All their family-owned businesses are actually family. Everyone is actually involved in running the organizations. They respect each other's passions and vision and what they're chasing. So I think, yeah.
Just to answer Wilfred further, where he asked, like, okay, when should someone join the family business?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to leave a legacy and if you want to grow your business, bring people in as soon as possible, right? The sooner they start understanding it, but this is where I was coming to. So from what I understand is the most growth an individual can have is between the ages of 0 and 8. Now, between 0 and 8, like I said, if you're not in the family business, or if your father hasn't taken you to show you what he does, then you're never going to know what he does at an early age, right? If you want your children to be part of the business, bring them in. Show them how excited you are to be at work, the positive environment that it creates. Like I said, when I joined the family business, I was coming from what I believed was a dream. I was playing professional cricket and I came back and joined the family business. And as much of it as it's a very different scenario, my father told me, he's like, Vir, if you want to be part of this family business, you make sure you're here before 8 o'clock. All right, we used to start at 8 then. So make sure you're here before 8 o'clock. And he made me work in every section of the business, whether it be sanding, upholstery, sanding, and I had to learn all that, right? I had to understand how the business floors were like cleaned, right? And you only get to understand these values of each individual if you've done them. Now, if you think you're just going to come and sit on the top of the director's chair and start pointing fingers and telling each individual what to do, it's not going to happen. Like I mentioned to you guys, I have people in the business who worked for us for 40 years. Now imagine going up to a 60-year-old man with a family who's been working you for 40 years and telling him, sorry, guy, you were late for work today. Like I said, we all understand what we have to do in an organization and then how we have to run it. The sooner the better. Create succession planning. The next step after succession planning, for example, in Muse's case, is retirement planning, which is another discussion altogether. A thought that we all have is, if you're still fit And if you still enjoy working, why stop? You know, when at Panesas, when we did an evaluation test of the performance of each individual. So we went around, we started off with the absolute bottom person and saw how they performed. We moved up the scale right to from senior accountants to my position, to my father's position. We tried evaluating and putting a number on an individual's performance. Guess who was number one in the organization? Jose, right? He was always at work on time, way earlier than everyone else. He has a lot more knowledge than everyone else, and it's being able
Sales
to
are
understand.
higher than
Yeah,
everyone
his
else.
like I said, all his appraisal levels were higher. But you need to understand the values that he has as an individual that have helped him grow the business. And I think that more and more people who have worked in Panesis understand what it takes to become great or be part of the business.
Excellent. And now we are going to move quicker with the questions. We have too many. Pauline Goru is asking, how do you handle situations where the next generation is not passionate about the family business? I think you've answered that, but you can just repeat in whatever.
It's not a problem. Look, if you don't want to be part of the business, don't be part of the business, but don't let the family know what you want to do. You have to enjoy what you want to do. You have to be passionate about what you do, right? If you're a big family and this one person says, you know what, I don't want to be part of this, help them grow. They're going to create revenue for the family eventually, right? So the family needs to put together and say, you know what, we have this individual, this is what he wants to do. Can we set aside a certain amount of money to help this individual start his business, right? Help him undergo the same values that the company has or the family has, but to run the business that he wants to run. That's the only way people will become successful, is if you do what you really believe in.
Okay. So John Moredi, hi John, is asking, how often do you review the family constitution?
Twice a year. All right. It's in the constitution, it says 3. I'm not going to lie, but we do it twice a year. All right. Like I said, we have individuals who are our family council. My family council comprises of both my mother and my father. Right. They are the first say, and they depict on what is the right way to go about doing whatever we need to do.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So John is also asking, where does the family consigliere, or I have no idea how to pronounce that, stem from? A law firm or a or a mentor?
Sorry, say that again for me. I'm trying to find this this question also, Grace.
Okay, wait, we'll figure it out in a minute. But an anonymous attendee is asking, isn't there a major problem in family businesses in that the businesses are naturally passed down to children who may not be the right people for the job?
You know, it's a big problem in this country. You know, it's a very bad stigma when you hear a Kenyan saying, you know what, I need to put together my will. People think that you're planning for death, or you're going to go. That's why he's planning for his will. And there's been a lot of rivalry and sibling rivalry that's come up when the mention of a will comes together, and it's a very sad scenario. If people who are in the business were communicated, you know, like I mentioned, the values, not just the company values, but the family values have, things would be a lot easier. And as I mentioned much earlier, trust, being able to trust, a big part of trust is transparency. If you're able to create transparency in the family, whether it be amongst family members, siblings, it really helps drive communication. And I know that is something that we have battled with in Panesas for a very long time. You have an individual, for example, my father, who is 70 years now, and we have an age gap of almost like 45 years. And he thinks very differently the way I do, right? We're a totally different generation. And if we didn't speak, it would be a problem. If we didn't speak and we didn't put things on paper, it'd be an even bigger problem. So that's what I always try and tell people when dealing with family issues or business related family issues. You need to find a way to communicate, guys. All right. You need to find a way to create transparency. Ask the hard questions, and put it down on paper. Right? If you don't have it on paper, consider it a forgotten topic.
Yeah. And then work is work and home is home. Yeah. Sharon is asking, as pertains to employee morale, how do you motivate staff in a family business, especially considering the ceiling is set and an employee has limited career rank or progression opportunities beyond a certain point? How can a family business motivate staff to perform excellently with this in mind?
If a member, right now, Apple is probably one of the largest organizations in the world. It's the first $1 trillion organization ever. All right. And if you do your research, you'll realize that people want to work for Apple, even if it's for free. Why does that happen? People understand why Apple exists, right? They understand what that company wants to do to the world. Another example of this is Safaricom. Safaricom is the leading organization in Kenya. They are the leading organization in Kenya because they have a very clear why of why they exist. If I ask anyone in this panelist so what do you think Safaricom's why is, right? They'll tell you connecting people. And if you look at whatever Safaricom has done now, they're continuing that why progress. All right. You need to be able to develop whys. You need to be able to make your staff understand what values you have, where the company is going. And if you don't have that, you can't really push motivation, right? I'll give you another example of motivation. That's one way of looking at it. In a week's time, all right, Panesas is going to create a forest to plant another 2,500 trees. We have an aim this year, or we have an aim in 5 years' time to reach 1 million trees, which is something we're striving for with Grace's help and with Zalada Academy's help as well to kind of make it there. But staff motivation can only come through its leadership. If its leadership isn't clear, if its leadership isn't positive in its daily operations, it's like a tidal wave. It floods the environment. And maybe, Grace, this is something that you can lead on to the panelists. I know something which is quite big in Panesas is you cannot believe how far a smile takes you. I think working with a smile, especially in Panesas, is something that we kind of strive for. We ensure that whenever we're greeting people or whenever someone's at work, we ask the question on, hey, what's up? Why aren't you smiling today? What's going on? And it's a big part of why I feel people still are with us.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, time is running so fast. I think we have one question that has been asked by an anonymous attendee, I think Sabina, and I will allow me to just use Simon's because it's a bit more structured. We have had outstanding family brands in Kenya that lasted for decades, then just died. For example, Akamba buses, Ibrahim's, etc. Tuskys has had issues recently. Isn't it a good idea for family businesses in Kenya to aspire to open up, like probably allow outsiders to be sustainable?
As mentioned earlier, an organization is. I'll take a sporting example again because it's what I know. An organization is a team, and there is no I in team, as everyone says. You need to put good individuals in place to run an organization successfully, right? There are positions in place, positions that need to be very clearly defined, with job roles, job descriptions, KPIs. Those KPIs are a reflection of what the objectives are of the business. And if you have that, you are able to put together a dream team. And I think every business owner and every family business needs a dream team around them. I may not know everything my father does, but my team does. And that's what a strong organization has, right? It is able to very clearly describe what values they want to do, and how they want their growth. And if everyone shares those values, then you are able to kind of lead the same path together. What's been happening in Kenya, like I said, is especially for the companies which are mentioned. I know Tuskies very well because they're very close friends of mine, and I may not want to dive too deep into it, but when issues do occur, like I said, I know for sure they didn't have a family constitution in place, right? And they didn't have these values in place. Whether it be from mistrust or non-transparency, I don't want to say too much, but you need to be able to have a path in life, or even with an organization, you need to have a path. And if your employees are able to see the path your organization is going towards, then they're able to follow.
Rahim is asking, do you have nepotism in your company? Please answer my question, please.
Rahim Qasim is a friend of mine. He runs a business called, he runs an organization called UNICEF. They are the largest university well, they send people to they're educators, all right? And he's also part of a family business as well. And I know they have something very similar in place. So I will leave Rahim to answer his own question in that case.
When outsourcing talent into a family business, how do you uphold the values without undermining the talent outsourced?
As mentioned, every organization has its roles to play. Those roles need to be very clearly defined. And in Panesar's case, each role has performance indicators in place. There's many fish in the sea, and until you find the right individual who fits that profile, like I said, as long as the organization knows and the people know where you're heading towards, you will be able to outsource the correct talent. There's a lot of different ways of being able to identify talent nowadays. And at least if you have it on paper, you know what you're looking for.
Okay. And Rachel is asking, how do you ensure that a family constitution is actually followed? I think that's a very important question.
You review it. You make sure that as a family and as a business, you look at this constitution because you've spent time putting it together. And you keep reviewing it, you keep growing it. As like I said, for example, in my case, we need to make a change. Whenever we need to make a change, we sit together as a family, we review it, we bring other people on board, and we make a decision.
Okay, and the last question, how does communication run in family businesses without offending members of families?
Sorry, Grace?
How does communication run in family businesses without actually offending family members? Because I've seen family ties being cut completely.
When you're in an organization, you're given a position, all right? And whenever you're in a position, there are business structures in place. We all know that there's an organizational chart. People understand what that communicational channel is, and family members need to respect where they are. Values need to be followed when things like this happen. And that's the only way you can continue positive communication. I think as soon as you as soon as someone jumps into like a negative frame of mind, like I said, it's a tidal wave. So I think it's very important, not just for a family, but generally in an organization or as a professional, you must keep communication positive. You must keep communication clear. And that helps identify or keep good performance amongst the organization.
Okay. And then the last, final question, because it's already 9 p.m. Randy is asking, how do you conduct performance checks for a family member without stepping on toes? And I think he answered this and he can use the Panesar structure where they have meetings with all management and everyone is questioned.
Yeah. Dashni's question at the end also.
Come again?
I've seen Dashni's question at the end also.
And so Randy is asking, can we, how do you do performance checks without stepping on toes?
No, I was looking at after that.
Okay.
Which says,
okay. Do you think you're the right person to lead Panesar into the future?
Yes.
Okay. Do you support family members? Okay, Tom Mushuko, I think that question was answered. And I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, Vir. I think we've really learned a lot. Karen, I think we'll answer your question later. How does it pan out? Okay, that's a very important question, but we will answer your questions. Any questions that we haven't, we can send it out as we send the recording on your emails. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. This wonderful session is brought to you by Atara Solutions, a HR consulting firm in partnership with the Lego Academy, a software development and capacity building firm. We have lots of giveaways beginning next week, so please stay tuned. Oh my God, I'm really looking forward to next week. Some of you will walk away with such beautiful presents, you'll be surprised. This is thank you very much, Vir. This has been very insightful, and I'm sure people have really learned a lot. Thank you, Zalego Academy, our IT partners. Thank you, Serenity Studios, for the video this week. I really enjoyed myself. Special appreciation to Simon Washira and Alex Mwangi. Thank you very much, our audience, for tuning in tonight. As always, it's a pleasure. Do not forget to tune in to Pearl Radio 96.9 FM in Nairobi. Again, Pearl Radio 96.9 FM in Nairobi. My name is Grace Ndula. I am a trainer and HR consultant with Atara Solutions and a manager at Panesar Training Institute. I have been your host. Please like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions, follow us on Instagram, Atara Solutions, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Atara Solutions. See you next week, same time, same place, as we look again. We are going to continue with this discussion on family-owned businesses. And this time we are going to have our Kenyan who is actually doing it. It can be done. From all of us, it's good night.